Hello, everyone. This is Twins Week in Baseball, and this will be an extended version of this because I will be covering 3 series instead of 2. The last update was a little bit short because there was a 2-game series, so we will cover 3 out of 4 games against the Royals, 2 out of 3 games against the Tigers, and 2 out of 3 games against the Blue Jays. All right, we'll start with game 121. This pitted Tyler Duffy against Dylan G. And this was a lot of Twins and not a lot of Royals. All right, we'll start in the top half of the second inning. Eddie Rosario with a leadoff single. He moves to second on a Kurt Suzuki single. And then Brian Dozier goes deep into the fountains for his 20th home run of the year to give the Twins a 3-0 lead. They would add to the lead in the 5th inning with G still pitching. Max Kepler reaches on a fielder's choice, moves to second on a Miguel Sano single, and then Eddie Rosario with his 35th RBI of the year singles home or doubles home Kepler, and it is 4-0. And the coup de grace that put the icing on the cake, this would have been off of Peter Moylan. With 2 outs, Max Kepler and Miguel Sano go back-to-back. That made it 6-0, and that's your final score. Tyler Duffy would go 8 innings for the win. Pat Dean cleaned up in the 9th. And Dylan G with the loss, he went 5 innings, giving up 4 runs. All right, so game 122 was played on the channel. That was a heartbreaker for the Twins. Yeah, they gave up the lead in the 9th and then lost. I'm sure most of you watched it. If not, go ahead and go back and watch it. It was Jose Barrios against Edinson Volquez, and neither starting pitcher lasted very long. All right, we go to the 3rd game of this series, and once again, the all or nothing for the Twins continues in this game. Hector Santiago against Ian Kennedy, and Ian Kennedy was not long for this game. He got through the first 2 innings fine, but the top of the 3rd, was the start of his demise. With 1 out, Brian Dozier singles, moves to second on a single by Jorge Polanco. Joe Mauer walked to load the bases, and then Trevor Plouffe unloaded or still remained to load the bases, but he gets the cheapy RBI with a walk. And then Eddie Rosario goes high, deep, and ask Grandma to break out the rye mustard and the rye bread and the mayo because it was grand salami time. So that made it 5-0 Twins. The Royals would get a run in the bottom half of the 3rd. Alex Gordon with the leadoff walk moves to second on a Cologne walk. And then Paulo Orlando with a RBI single. That made it 5-1, but that would be all the Royals would get today. The top half of the 4th would be it for G. After a 1-out single by Joe Mauer, he was pulled for Chris Young, and he wasn't much better. After Mauer singled to knock out Kennedy, Plouffe singled to move him to second, and then Eddie Rosario again with an RBI double. That gives him 5 RBIs on the day, and the scoring went not in there. And another bases loaded walk. This time Kurt Suzuki, the recipient, he gets an RBI. That made it 7-0. The Twins would add 2 more in the top half of the 6th. 1 out. This is still off of Chris Young. He had to do a little bit more work than he probably would have wanted. 1 out single by Eddie Rosario, moves to second on a walk. And then Robbie Grossman with single loads the bases. And then a 2-out 2-run single by Danny Santana gives the Twins a 9-1 lead. Lost in all the hitting, Hector Santiago goes 7 2/3, giving up 1 run, and he gets the win. JT Chagua finishes out the final inning in the 3rd. Kennedy would get the loss, going only 3 1/3. All right, and the Royals, not very happy that they got blown out in 2 games, decided to take out their frustrations in the final game of the series. This was Irvin Santana against Danny Duffy, and there would be no scoring for the Twins in this game. This would almost be like loss by 1,000 cuts, I should say. First inning, Gerard Dyson leadoff triple, scores on a sacrifice fly by Lorenzo Cain. We go to the bottom half of the second. Solo home run, a 2-out solo home run by Drew Butera. Nice when your backup catcher gives you some offense. 2-0 Royals. They would add another run in the top half of the third. Dyson again with a triple, and Cheslor Cuthbert with an RBI. That made it 3-0. They would get 2 more runs in the fourth. Back-to-back doubles by Alcides Escobar and Drew Butera. That made it 4-0. And then Cheslor Cuthbert again with an RBI single made it 5-0. The final run would come in the fifth. In fact, these would be the knockout blows. Leadoff single by Kendrys Morales moves to second on a walk, and then Eddie Rosario with an error plates the final run, and that would be it for Irvin Santana. He only went 4 1/3. He gets the loss. Danny Duffy goes 7 for the win. Okay, and game 125 for the Tigers and Twins was also played on the channel. An extra innings thriller. Didn't quite go for the Twins' way, but please give it a watch if you haven't already. Game 2 of the series pitted Matt Boyd against Tyler Duffy. And this was a back-and-forth game to start. Tigers get out early. Eric Ibar leadoff single. Goes to he scores on a Miguel Cabrera double. And then he goes to third on a Victor Martinez single, and then JD Martinez singles him home. That'd be part of a 3-for-5 day for him. And then, yeah, so that scores 2 runs in the top half of the first, sorry. Go to the bottom half of the third. The Twins actually take the lead, partly due to some shoddy defense and partly due to some good hitting. Eddie Rosario leads off the bottom half of the third, and Austin Romine boots the ball, and Rosario reaches on a single, and then the next batter, Brian Dozier, takes him deep to left center field, and it's gone, and it's a tie game at 2. That's Dozier's 20th home run of the year and 66th RBI. Robbie Grossman follows with a double and scores on a Trevor Plouffe single. That gave the Twins a 3-0 lead, which they would hold on to until the top of the fifth. A leadoff walk to Cameron Maben, then he was erased on a fielder's choice by Ibar. And then Miggy, can't you see? Sometimes your home runs just hypnotize me. 2-run homer by Miguel Cabrera. That put the Tigers up 4-3. And then they would be up for good in the 6th inning. Ryan O'Rourke came in. Actually, top of the 6th. Ryan O'Rourke actually came in and pitched a scoreless 6th. The 7th inning was Pat Light. And he was not a light on this day. Romine with a leadoff single. Goes to second on a walk. And then a 2-out rally by the Tigers. Victor Martinez singles to load the bases. And then JD Martinez says, I can have that rye bread in the mayo too. Grand slam. And that puts the Tigers up 8-3. They would add a run in the 8th inning. Casey McGehee with a leadoff double. Goes to third on a single and scores on a fielder's choice. That made it 9-3. Boyd went 5 2/3 innings to get the win. Tyler Duffy went 5 in the loss. And that brings the record to 54-72 after 126 games. And then we go to the final game of the series. Daniel Norris against Jose Barrios, and Jose Barrios got rocked. Tyler Collins with the leadoff single in the top half of the first. Once again, the Tigers scored early and often in these games. Goes to third on a Miguel Cabrera single, loads the bases on a walk, and then JD Martinez strikes again for the Tigers, a 2-run double, and that made it 2-0. And then Justin Upton with a 2-run single, that made it 4-0, and the Tigers would extend their lead in the top half of the second. A little 2-out magic. Ian Kinsler with a 2-out double scores on a Tyler Collins single. That made it 5-0. The Twins would make their march back starting in the bottom half of the second. Brian Dozier hit one into Triple's alley. And then 2 batters later, Trevor Plouffe with an RBI single. That made it... Oh, shoot. I forgot the second. No, that was the third inning. Sorry. Second inning was leadoff walk to Trevor Plouffe, and then Miguel Sano with his 24th home run of the year. That made it 5-2. That triple by Dozier was in the third inning. Scoring on a single by Plouffe was in the fifth inning, or the third inning. That made it 5-3. They would make it 5-4 when Robbie Grossman hits his 9th home run of the year. That made it 5-4, but in the top half of the sixth, with Michael Tonkin pitching, Eddie Rosario this was Danny Santana in center field. 2-base error, and then Tyler Collins, of all people, hit a 2-run homer. That made it 7-4. They would add another run when Miguel Cabrera followed the home run with a single, goes to third on a Victor Martinez double, and scores on a JD Martinez ground out. So 3 RBIs on the day for JD Martinez. Tyler Collins also had a 3-for-5 day, driving in a couple runs. This all led to Daniel Norris getting the win. The Tigers won 8-4. He went 5 innings to get the win. Jose Barrios went 5 in the loss. All right, so now we go to Game 1 against the Blue Jays, and as I promised, this was in the video where for the Twins Blue Jays games, where I said the recap of how devastating this would be. This was Pat Dean against Francisco Liriano. The Blue Jays would strike first in the bottom half of the second inning. Leadoff walk to Melvin Upton Jr. goes to second on a walk by Darwin Barney. Justin Smoke reaches on a fielder's choice. They load the bases with a Ezekiel Carrera single. And then I don't know if there was something in the air in these games, but the grand slam happened a lot. And this time it was Jose Bautista, Joey Bats, with a grand slam, and that put the Blue Jays up 4-0. But give Pat Dean some credit. He did not allow another run after that grand slam, and the pitching staff allowed the Twins to get back into this, and they started in the top half of the sixth. 2-out walk to Robbie Grossman, and then Trevor Plouffe with a double in the gap, and Grossman scampers all the way around to cut the Blue Jays deficit to 4-1. In the top half of the 8th inning, this was Joe Biagini pitching. 1-out walk to Eddie Rosario, and then a 2-run homer by Brian Dozier, back-to-back games with home runs for him, his 21st home run and 68th RBI. And that cut the deficit to 4-3. And they brought in Roberto Osuna to try to close the game, but he could not get the job done. 1-out double by Max Kepler, and with 2 outs, Eduardo Escobar ties the game at 4 with a 2-out single. However, that would be it for the scoring, and wouldn't last very long. The bottom half of the 10th, this was Ryan O'Rourke. This is Andrew Albers pitching his second inning in relief. 1-out single by Russell Martin. Runners on second and third with a 2-out double by Melvin Upton Jr. And then Darwin Barney with the walk-off double, or single, whatever. Whatever you want to call it. It's a 5-4 win for the Blue Jays. Albers gets the loss, and Joaquin Benoit pitches the top half of the 10th, and he gets the win. All right, game 129 was played on the channel. Yeah, you thought the Twins had this, but Kinsler with the blown save in the 9th, that doesn't help. And then for the finale, the Twins maybe just wanted to get out of town. This was Kyle Gibson against R.A. Dickey. I think people went to a baseball game and a football game broke out. Grand Slam comes out again in the bottom half of the first. An error, 2 errors scored the first run. Actually, no, not the Grand Slam this time. Back-to-back errors by Santana and Grossman score the first run. Donaldson's reached on an error, scored. Bautista had reached on an error. Encarnacion walked, and then Russell Martin with the 3-run homer. That made it 4-0. The home run ball would strike again in the top half of the second. Josh Donaldson drives in Josh Tolley and himself with a 2-run homer. And then finally, the big inning, the touchdown with the extra point. This would be, the second inning would be it for Kyle Gibson. Went out, walked to Tulowitzki. First and third with a Pilar single. Melvin Upton with an RBI single scores Tulowitzki. Devin Travis with a RBI single scores Upton. Tolley walks to put runners on first and second. And Jose Bautista again with a 3-run homer. That made it 13-0. The Blue Jays would add another run. Troy Tulowitzki, RBI single after Encarnacion and Martin had walked in the... Oh, that's the final run scored in that inning. That was off of Pat Light. The run in the top of the... or bottom half of the fifth. Andrew Wimmers... or Matt Wimmers, sorry. Comes into the game. Encarnacion, leadoff double. Russell Martin, triple. That made it 14-0. The Twins would salvage a little pride. Kurt Suzuki, a 1-out triple. And then Danny Santana with an RBI ground out. That made it 14-1. In fact, it got so bad, Eddie Rosario came in and pitched the bottom of the 9th. He didn't give up a run, but he got Devin Travis to strike out, and that might get him a nice fine in Kangaroo Court. All right, so that puts the record of the Twins to 54-76. Their real record after 130 games was 49-81, so I'm 5 games above pace. All right, so the next 2 games on the channel, actually, the next game on the channel is the next game that will be played. Game 131 will be the Twins heading to Cleveland to play the Indians, and Hector Santiago takes on Trevor Bauer. And then the final game of the series, so I will do a Twins week in baseball before the next, before the final game against the White Sox. This is Ronaldo against Andrew Albers. So the next Twins week in baseball will take place in the first week in September. So we're heading into the home stretch here. All right, everybody. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching Twins Week in Baseball. If you like what you see, please hit the like button and hit the subscribe button and hit the bell icon. You'll be notified when any new videos come out. And whatever games you are playing, may your games be lively and your games be good. Have a good night, everybody.